With just a copper golem and a map, we can add waypoints to your world. Or try 2 shelves back to back and make steel beams for a construction site. And here are 41 build hacks that you'll need to try before the end of the year. Starting with how to make a circle, as they give us a more subtle slope, and because we can stack them back to back like so, we can mix these with walls to make really nice gradual arcs for our circles. Plus, you can also change this out to any kind of color that you want with the different shelves. There's so many different options. So what we're showing off here is using this idea for copper golems inside of your copper fountain. Now, it might be hard to notice them until you get up close, but sure enough, with all the new oxidized copper golem variants and the copper chests as well, you can sneak these in and get really nice looking fountain designs. I like it as well. It looks like the different kind of statues that you would see spitting out water. We've got the bench press, which this I love. So using a mix of the different copper lightning rods as well as the copper chains, we can connect up 2 different wither skulls on either side to load up the barbell for our weight rack. And look here, we've even got different kind of kettlebells and weights that we could add along as well. But as you notice right now, our bar is flying. The way that we get that into place is that we dispense in some armor stands, and it looks like it rests right along top. So the idea here is that we're using a mix of smooth stone as well as our regular stone to give almost a lighting effect from our windows. So if you were to basically picture where this would triangulate out, you could build a staircase down and get an easy idea of having the angle for your light. So if you don't quite have vibrant visuals yet, this is a good way to introduce it into your world. And Observer is another good idea here too. If you wanted to add an andesite, you can make it look like it's a dimmer light on those blocks. If we take our shelves here, we can place them along the sides to do much what we've done with trapdoors in the past and give ourselves window shutters. I think this looks great. It blends really nicely, and we might not notice until you look close that we're using different wood types mixed in here as well. And it just gives you that extra bit of detail to line your glass panes. This one's close to home, but if you were to take numbered banners like so, I can go and slot these in to a slot machine and have ourselves a jackpot. But I think this is a lot of fun for using this. While it's not exactly functional, it is a very simple build hack. And the way that you would build these, he will give you numbers here. The number 7 is going to be a red bend sinister, a red chief, and a white border. And the number 0 is going to be a red base, red pale dexter, red chief, red pale sinister, red bend sinister, white border. And that gives you the numbers to get started. So if we were to walk into our store, we can now set up our shelves for our own kind of supermarket sim and use these as the display for our counter. Well, I'm not stealing anything. You don't have to watch me that close. But I think this is a great way of displaying things within your shop. But it's a lot more interesting than just having your stuff stored in another chest. And it basically does the job of both an item frame and a storage slot in one. Very nice. Another one with shelves is that we can build ourselves the puppet show. So by using different kinds of letter examples on our banners, which there's plenty of online resources to go and get started on these, using these different banners to give ourselves the lights for our little puppet show. And then if you wanted to, you could go and sneak in the back here and try to do the puppet show. What we've got here is a little planter's box, which uses the shelves already as the rim here instead of trapdoors. I like that. But what's particularly cool is mixing in our different warped roots and sprouts with the copper golem underneath the brown carpet. And you could even change the height by having the copper golem sit down or stand up. We could even angle it too, giving you different kinds of nether sprouts growing in your garden. How cool is that? All right, what we've got here is a stoplight, which if I go and zoom in up top, by just using fully colored banners, we can give ourselves a proper stoplight to use for your roads. Because hoppers interact with these, if we had a hopper over top, we could technically animate it with redstone, having it slowly filter in for beep, 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 and get ready to go. Very, very cool. We've got ourselves the human face, because if you want to make your starting center for the Celtics, you could just go and add in these banners with eyes. That's just a black chief and a black roundel. And you give yourself both the brow, the nose here in the middle, and the different ridge for the face to have yourself a proper face. That's very fun, if not a little unsettling. And obviously we could use the different letters like we did for the puppet show to give ourselves the Celtics naming on the center. The ship sail, because by combining these on different sides of the block, if we alternate side by side, we could technically make it look as if our sail is rippling within the breeze. And then angling it like so, even on a small scale ship like this, you can get some pretty cool detail. Because we usually use wool or different kinds of carpets and banners, this actually keeps it a lot thinner, which for smaller scale ships works a lot better. So we don't just have to use our shelves as the shelves inside of our building, but we can also use them on the outside as shelf signage signage. So if you want to show off what you're selling, or just have a different kind of logo or emblem, you could very easily do that for your nice little quickie mart. Which, considering the alternative used to just be using either armor stands with the armor stand data pack from Vanilla Tweaks, or trying and placing item frames against trapdoors, I like this a lot better. Just make sure that no one's able to go in and steal your stuff out of the sign. If you're using the actual goods that you're selling, they might just be able to walk away with a lot of allium. And we don't just have to use it for a small signage like so, we could also place it up here with our lettering to give ourselves the store sign. And the point worth noting about this is that buttons work particularly well as hyphens or different kind of details alongside our letter banners. Or we could use these shelves in the back of a bar to give ourselves 99 bottles of whatever that is. I'll take that one, please. Thank you. I'm assuming this is milk. But I think the alternative that I've seen for bars is people using spyglasses with armor stands pointed upside down for different kinds of bottles. This is a lot easier to set up. So if you want to build a big bed like this, you might have known about using different kinds of things like carpet for the blanket. You could be using snow layers for the pillows, but now we can add shelves to the mix and have these as the bed frame, both using it as the end here as well as the headboard back here, which for a big bed, I think it integrates it a lot better into your base. I mean, it's not exactly functional as a bed, but if you don't have to sleep because time's set day is stuck, then you'll be just fine. So we've got here different kinds of kitchen cabinets, and what I love is adding in the black candles here for the different handles. And as you can see, across multiple different wood types, these also work really well. And while they don't exactly open up for you to store stuff inside of your cupboards, considering you can store stuff inside of them, I think you're probably not giving up that much anyway. All right, what we've got here, if you look up top for our Gothic window design, is we can use the different kinds of shelves to not only make our arch for the window a lot smoother, but also use it inside here to give different kinds of window framing as well. I think that looks awesome. And while it's unfortunate there's no gray option, I will say that the pale shelf doesn't look that bad in this example. Our steel beams. Since by using particularly the mangrove shelves in this example, we can line these along, and I think you'll find that because they have all these different indentations on the texture for where we would put our items, it works particularly well for steel beams that you'd see at a construction site, which I just think is awesome. And then if you were to take your copper golem statues, make them sit, and now they're eating their lunch on the work site. That's a pretty boring bridge. So let's make it interesting with this kind of bridge. I think having these copper golem statues lined in here for the railing is awesome. And we're connecting it all up with the help of these waxed oxidized copper lightning rods along the top. Because the copper golems don't have any collision along the top of them, you can actually place other blocks on top of them, and it works just fine. And you could even alternate the different kinds of copper statue poses to give you subtle arcs that go here as well. Look at that, it's sloping up and down with the different states. Very cool. And while we've been paying a lot of attention to using the front of the shelves, it is worth noting that the different back sides of the shelves also gives us unique texturing to use here. And particularly mixing it with our different stripped oak wood or stripped wood of whatever kind of wood variant you're using for the shelf, I think looks great. So while they can't be rotated, it is worth saying that even just seeing the back side vertically like so does look pretty nice. That's a good point. It looks like the studs of where you might have hung up your painting in the past. So if you want to tell the story that you're moving, you could place down a couple of beehive boxes, have your painting there, and it looks like you just moved out your one painting and you're moving on to the next. So what we've got here for our extravagant feast is that we're going to be using an armor stand like so with a leather cap on top to give ourselves a hot dog inside of a bun. And all that's happening here is that that's just a Sentry armor trim with a redstone material on top of a dyed leather cap, which when you place it on top of an armor stand, which isn't even invisible by the way, it's just a regular armor stand summoned in, it gives you the hot dog that you're eating at the fine feast. We've got a use for our happy ghasts here, because if we place them on top of our fences like so, we can mix them with the copper lightning rods to give ourselves gargoyles. Look at that, we're just taking the dried ghast and placing them on top here. Without the water, they're never gonna hydrate, so these work pretty well as not the most intimidating of gargoyles, but definitely gargoyles nonetheless. So if we place down our copper golem statue right in the middle of this here, we could then take the map and put it in item frames to give ourselves a waypoint that we're denoting on top of the map, because it doesn't collide with the block that's on top of it, so we could move it as well. If we wanted to have the waypoint over here, just change the pose. I think that's awesome. So if we were to take our small dripstone and point it onto the ground like so, then we could use a debug stick as well as our small berry bushes to connect it up and give ourselves tiny little saplings. So what you're going to want is to set the thickness to tip level merge, but not only get a unique kind of tree with its unique kind of bark, but we also get a bit of a larger tree, at least something that's 2 blocks tall as opposed to our regular one, which isn't that bad that if you're looking for a unique kind of farm. Our graveyards, we have a new way of making a gravestone. By mixing in our pale oak shelves into the mix like so, we can place a trapdoor over the top, and then the classic RIP right inside. Here we go. You can take a look at all of those stages. Awesome. Feel free to pause or come back to that. And then align it like so to give the final remains. For build hacks, everyone loves showing off different kinds of cars, but if you want to build a simple car, this is a really nice way to do it. All we're going to take is some solid wood blocks like so, and then we're going to face in stairs to the back like that. A couple more at the back like so. That gives us all we need for our wheels. And now for the new part, we add in the crimson shelf at the beginning and a couple of sea lanterns for the headlights. Add in your glass, finish with trapdoors, and your car's all set. We've shown off how to make water coolers in the past, but this has to be my favorite version of it so far, which is just mixing in our different shelves like so, and then with a fence along the side, we can have this look like where you actually dispense for the water cooler. And then if you want hot or cold, you just use these different banner colors, a red chief or a blue chief. Awesome. So what we've got here is mixing in our different warped shelves with some of the oxidized cut copper to give ourselves roof spires. But the real pièce de resistance here is that we're adding in the copper golem along the top with a candle and an oxidized copper lightning rod right on top of it, which you can mix together pretty easily. It's just the copper golem, and then we place a support block like so, face the lightning rod underneath, and then the cyan candle right along top, giving you a really natural blending of the different models to get your roof spire. What works great with the different kinds of acacia that we have are the new waxed copper bars, because if we're looking at these, especially next to the acacia door, it practically looks identical, which I think is awesome. Just unfortunately, they don't mix up naturally between our fences and our copper bars. If you wanted to do that, you'd have to use that debug stick command from earlier and then go through the effort of having them connect. Another great way to use the copper bars is mixing in with our iron bars to give the illusion of rust building up on your old fence. I think this is so cool. And then using the exposed copper bars, we can get that mid-rust oxidation state, which, considering that nothing in iron's been ever able to rust in Minecraft, it brings it up to that level without actually giving it any new items. Ooh, and then look at this, observer. We've got little flecks of resin falling down to the ground as if the rust is flaking off. And leaf litter could do the same as well. Or connect it up with our regular chains, and the gradient that we get here now is making it look like our copper chains are the heated version of our regular standard iron chains. And so if you mix them together with lava cauldrons, we could have it as if we're forging the chains as we go. I think this is great for your next armory. Or if you wanted to have electrified chains, you could use the oxidized version and make it look as if electricity's pumping through this. There we go. Yeah, we're powering it up. So we've got both a powered chain and a heated one. And another place that we're going to see these different kinds of oxidized copper chains is as if there was grass or moss that's building up on the chains that's been here for a while. So if you want to have an ancient kind of build using these different chains, you can mix it in very nice, and we basically have the moss covered version of the chain. I like this a lot. For an old swing set design or something, this would be very cool. So if we zoom out from this, it'll just look like we have some regular terraforming, maybe done with a little bit of extra slopes and detail. But if we get up close, while you're going to notice that is still the case, what's actually happening is that we're making this happen by using dried gas into the texture. Since if you were to face a dried gas out the back, you can use its model to give you subtle slopes into a gradient of different dead fire coral blocks, which then gradients up into the stone, giving us a really nice slope for our mountain tops. So if we were to take our regular flower pots and line them on top of our copper golems like so, we can use that overlapping with their texture to make ourselves a new kind of flower pot design. Now we could use this jumbo one here by having its legs get swallowed into the decorated pot, which I think looks great. And then by having the regular flower pot on top of it, you can still plant anything you want inside, like our dead bush. And then by laying on top the different leaves, we've got our jumbo plant design. So we've got our copper golem here, we've got it sitting down, but what we're gonna want to do first is use a dispenser. By dispensing it and having the boat stay on top of a chest so that it doesn't sink, we can line it into place and then have it positioned perfectly for the copper golem to both sit inside of the boat, or at least look like it is, and have it rowing the boat with the oars. And you could even position it up like so to have it actually look as if it's pushing the oars midway. I mean, it makes sense it would have to stand up. It's pretty short. An arcade machine, because by using the copper golem statue, we can use that along the top, the lightning rod on its head, to give ourselves a joystick. You will need to place a block here so that you can place it down a 1x1 painting. Otherwise, you'll get a 2x2 that just sticks out the end. So if you don't want the screen tearing, what you're going to want to do is place down a block here first, and then you'll get your copper golem into place. And there you go. Now Observer's playing the game. And if you rotate through the positions, it even looks like you're using it. A sofa! So, by using the spruce stairs, usually the way we would make this is just by angling them like so, which don't get me wrong, that does work. But if you want a little bit more sitting space, now you can use the shelves along the side to not even lose that much room to walk past, but still have the arms for your couch. Oh, yeah, you could add these for buttons along the side, like you're sewing up your couch. That's fun. We could take a page out of Toy Story's book and take our copper golems and mix them into our shelves to not only give us the perfect culmination of this update, but also a whole bunch of mint-in-box copper golems. Now, the only thing that I wish we could do here is we could have one of them still posed, looking like it was going out to start telling our Buzz Lightyear story. There we go. And if we change the scale attribute as observer showing off on their screen, we could line it up to have it look like one came to life. Awesome. If we go around this side, we're gonna see that we used our pale oak shelves to give ourselves garage shutters. And I think the pale oak works particularly well as opposed to other options, but we could use other colors for sure. And then if you were to add in different kinds of redstone blocks to the back, it's not gonna make it redstone powered, but it will start to add a little bit of different designs, so you can go and add a little bit of personality to your front block. Ooh, so if we were to take our witch hut here, we can bring it up to a new level by using the new copper torches, because of the eerie green flame works particularly well for a witch might be storing their pufferfish. And then if we were to arrive at our witch's hut and take the copper torches, we can go and add these in, and while it might add a little bit too much light level to the whole place, it works very well with the different color palettes that we've seen with the witch, and with the swamp, might I add.
And with that, folks, YouTube thinks that you might like this video, so see if they're right and have a good one, alright?